It's a range of punishment, and it'll be in the province of the judge, whoever gets the case. But it could be from 0 all the way to life imprisonment.
What happens when a rapper fresh out the feds turns around and targets the same man who helped make him famous? Pooh Shiesty had everything lined up: a platinum run, a real second chance, and even an ankle monitor keeping him in check. But somehow all of that got tossed aside in a single wild afternoon, and the proof he left behind? Straight up embarrassing. The same OG who gave him his shot. Yeah, that's who this situation revolves around. Pooh Shiesty stepped out of federal custody in October 2025 with tight restrictions and a rare opportunity to move smarter. 5 months later, he was right back in trouble, allegedly pulling up on the very person who helped fund his rise. That's not just risky, that's reckless. People in the streets were already whispering, but the feds? They were paying even closer attention. Lontrell Donnell Williams Jr., born November 8, 1999, in Memphis, Tennessee, came up grinding through a tough music scene that doesn't hand out favors. Memphis rap hits different, raw energy, heavy bass, and real-life struggle packed into every beat. Shiesty fit right into that world, no question. Back in 2019, his track Hell Night with Big 30 started turning heads, and by mid-2020, the momentum was undeniable. Then came the big moment as Gucci Mane, a true heavyweight in the game, reached out. On June 19, 2020, Shiesty officially signed to Gucci's 1017 Records under Atlantic, locking in a deal most artists dream about. Their collab, Still Remember, made everything official to the world. This wasn't just music anymore. It was a full mentor-protege bond locked in tight. Shiesty wasn't just another artist on the roster. He was the pick, the one Gucci was betting big on.
Supersede indictment, man. This the indictment out the original indictment. So we got indicted twice. So they smacked us with more charges, nigga.
1017 wasn't just a label either. It was a whole movement, mixing artist development, street credibility, and branding into one powerful machine. And Shiesty was right at the center of it all. The rise came fast and loud. In 2021, his mixtape Shiesty Season went platinum, and Back in Blood with Lil Durk, that track was everywhere: radio, streaming, social media, non-stop. You couldn't scroll or drive anywhere without hearing it. Gucci didn't hold back either, pushing Shiesty hard through projects like So Icy Summer and setting him up as the face of the new 1017 wave. From the outside, it looked like the perfect formula was playing out. Gucci finds raw talent, builds it up, and everybody wins. Simple as that. That was the vision behind his post-prison comeback, stacking 1017 with authentic southern voices and turning it into a serious force again. And with Shiesty going platinum right out the gate, it seemed like everything was falling into place perfectly. But the streets weren't letting go that easy. In October 2020, Shiesty was charged in Florida in connection with an armed robbery and a violent incident involving a firearm. Then more trouble followed with a Miami strip club incident in 2021, adding even more pressure. By January 2022, it all caught up. He took a plea deal on a federal firearms conspiracy charge and was sentenced to 63 months. He ended up doing about 3 years locked down in a federal facility out in Pennsylvania. Even while sitting behind those walls, he stayed active, dropping Shiesty Season Certified in 2022, and Gucci was still featured on the track list. From the outside looking in, everything seemed solid between the artist and the label. Music still dropping, money still moving, no clear signs of tension boiling over yet. Then came that live stream right after he got out. Shiesty jumped online, flashing paperwork for everyone to see, making it loud and clear. He stood tall the entire time. He was talking fast, repeating himself, energy all over the place, but the message didn't change. He didn't fold under pressure. He wanted everybody watching to know that when the feds came down hard on him and his co-defendants, nobody broke, nobody switched up.
Thinking that shit will break us or make us. Conspiracy to possess firearms in front of the drug trafficking, violent crimes. The 3 other sided you will ever see.
But here's where things take a wild turn. Showing you stayed solid is one thing. Moving smart is something completely different. Because according to federal prosecutors, just hours after that very live stream, things allegedly went left in a serious way. He went from proving a point on camera to being tied to a brand new federal situation before the day even ended. A move that's being called one of the most reckless plays seen in rap circles in a long time. Shiesty got released to home confinement in October 2025 with an ankle monitor locked on his leg. And make no mistake, supervised release is not freedom at all. A probation officer is watching every move. There's a strict curfew, and stepping outside your assigned area is off limits. No firearms, no new charges, no slip-ups whatsoever. Break any of those rules and it's straight back to a cell. No debate, no second chances. At that point, your time isn't even yours anymore. The system controls where you go and how you move until that supervision period ends.
You're not some wild horse who can go out on the prairie and just go, do whatever you want to other wild horses.
Criminal defense attorney Bruce Rivers broke it down in the simplest terms for anyone confused about how serious those restrictions really are.
No, you are a ward of the state. You still have to be where you're supposed to be. Otherwise, they can put you back in prison. Period. Hard stop. End of story.
But here's the twist. Shiesty didn't seem too concerned. After getting out, talk started spreading that he wasn't happy with his 2017 deal. People were whispering about money issues, royalty splits, creative limits, and recoupment problems. All the stuff that can turn success into frustration real quick. Then another name entered the conversation, Yo Gotti and CMG Records. That got attention fast. Memphis and Atlanta have always had that quiet tension, so a move from Gucci's side to Gotti's camp would have shaken things up heavy in southern rap. But Gucci wasn't about to just let that happen. He had already invested time, money, and energy into building Shiesty from a local Memphis name into a nationwide star, and letting that go? That was never going to be easy. That contract wasn't going anywhere. Back in October 2024, Gucci had already cleared out most of the 1017 roster, cutting artists based on profit and loss decisions, but he held on to just two names, Shiesty and Fugiano. Out of everybody, Shiesty was one of the few he chose to keep, and that's supposed to carry weight. That's supposed to mean loyalty, trust, and long-term vision. From Gucci's side, it looked like an OG standing behind his artist, basically saying, I still believe in you, I'm still building with you. But for Shiesty, it didn't feel like support at all. It felt like pressure, like being boxed in. Instead of seeing loyalty, he saw limits. And the harder he pushed against it, the more stuck he felt. Now here's where things get messy. One unverified street report claimed Shiesty might have received money from Gotti to try and buy his way out of the deal, but when Gucci refused, everything started going left. Whether that claim is true or not, one thing is clear. The frustration was building fast. Shiesty reportedly wanted out of 1017, and Gucci wasn't letting it happen. But instead of handling it through lawyers or making smart business moves like other artists have done, things allegedly took a reckless turn. Reports claim he reached out to people close to him and set up a meeting that would spark serious consequences. Even Adam22 said he had Memphis sources telling him something went down between Shiesty and Gucci before the public knew anything. The rumors had been floating around quietly for weeks, building tension before everything finally started coming to light. Gucci staying quiet wasn't weakness. It was strategy. He was playing this like chess, not checkers. He even had off-duty police officers working security, and the whole situation ended up getting caught on surveillance cameras. Gucci wasn't moving sloppy at all. He was He was letting things play out, while the feds quietly built their case. While people in the streets kept talking, Shiesty seemed to think staying silent and sticking to the code would protect him, but Gucci, he trusted the cameras and the system to back him up, and that difference in approach is where everything started to shift. What was supposed to be a move quickly turned into a situation that spiraled out of control. January 10th, 2026, Dallas, Texas. A recording studio right off Dallas Parkway became the center of it all. This wasn't just music business anymore. This is where things allegedly crossed the line into a federal case. Moments like this don't just shake reputations, they can end careers and lead straight to serious time. According to an FBI affidavit filed by Special Agent Brittany Garcia, Shiesty allegedly arranged what was meant to be a business meeting at the studio to discuss his 1017 contract with Gucci. 3 individuals showed up. Gucci Mane, identified as RD in court documents, along with 2 associates. They reportedly flew into Dallas together, accompanied by Gucci's head of security and another officer, setting the stage for what would come next. From their point of view, this was just a sit-down, a business conversation between 2 people who had made serious money together over the years. Around 1:45 in the afternoon, they pulled up to the studio tucked inside a bigger office building, but when they arrived the spot wasn't open yet, so they were left just waiting around with nothing to do. While waiting, they made a quick run to a liquor store, grabbed some bottles and red cups, just chilling and passing time like it was any normal day. Not one person on Gucci's side was thinking anything wild was about to happen. Nobody expects a setup at what's supposed to be a label meeting. That's what made the situation hit so different. Behind the scenes though, things were already moving in a whole other direction. Shiesty's father, Lontrell Williams Sr., was reportedly calling the studio owner, listed as JN in documents, trying to lock everything in. By 2:53 p.m., JN answered and was told the session was being booked so Shiesty and Gucci could link up and record music, keeping everything looking legit on the surface. Once the studio opened, everyone started filing in, and that's when the energy shifted. What looked like a regular meetup allegedly had deeper intentions, and Gucci walked in trusting someone he had helped build up. Around 3:39 p.m., a studio employee showed up and noticed Shiesty and his father near the back door going back and forth on the phone about something serious. Then things got even more intense. A group of 9 people entered the control room where the others were sitting watching a football game. 9 people deep for what was supposed to be a simple business talk. That's when it really started to feel like something wasn't right. 9 people walked into that room, and every single one of them allegedly knew exactly why they were there.
So the victim overheard Williams talking on his cell phone with a probation or parole officer, stating that his caseworker had given him permission to be out for rec time.
That's what makes this part feel so intense. This wasn't random, it looked coordinated from the jump. Now here's where it gets even crazier. Shiesty was reportedly on the phone with his probation officer while sitting in that Dallas studio, miles away from where his ankle monitor said he was supposed to be. During that call, he claimed he had permission to be out, but according to reports, that wasn't true at all.
From what the victims could hear, Williams was informed that this was not the case, that he needed to return immediately. Williams Jr. agreed.
That kind of move? That's a huge risk, especially under strict supervision. The probation officer told him clearly to head back home, but he didn't listen. Instead, he turned right back to the situation at hand and asked Gucci to step into a private recording room to talk business one-on-one. Gucci initially suggested they could just reschedule and handle it another time, trying to keep things smooth, but Shiesty wasn't trying to delay anything. He pushed for that private conversation, and eventually Gucci agreed to step aside and talk. Meanwhile, the rest of the group stayed back in the control room watching the game, unaware of how serious things were about to get. At one point, one of the people there even offered Shiesty's crew some of the liquor they had just picked up. A couple of them grabbed cups and poured drinks like everything was normal. The energy stayed calm, relaxed, almost friendly for another 10 minutes or so. Nobody in that room expecting things to flip the way they did. Inside the private recording room though, the tone was completely different. Shiesty reportedly pulled out contract termination papers that were already prepared and placed them in front of Gucci, telling him to sign. That's when it became clear this wasn't random. This had been planned ahead of time. Gucci refused, and just like that, the tension shot up. Voices got louder, the vibe turned aggressive, and even someone sitting in the control room could see through the glass that things were going left. They quickly sent a message to Gucci's security out in the lobby, trying to get ahead of whatever was building. Then came the moment that changed everything. A bag was brought into the situation after Shiesty told Big 30 to go grab it. Once it was back in the room, things escalated fast. Reports say a weapon was pulled out and pointed directly at Gucci during the confrontation. Right there in a studio with surveillance cameras running and security nearby, the situation allegedly crossed into dangerous territory in seconds.
Now this is felon in possession of a firearm. Okay, if it's a 924C, it's a 5-year mandatory minimum. But if it's used in connection with a crime, it's a 10-year mandatory minimum.
Bruce Rivers broke down exactly what a firearm charge like that means in federal court, and the numbers are serious.
And it's actually a consecutive sentence. So whatever your other sentence is, they add 10 years onto it. Unbelievable.
We're talking about a mandatory minimum of 10 years added on top of anything else that comes with the case. That's not something you can negotiate away or hope gets reduced. It's locked in by federal law and runs consecutive, not concurrent. According to reports, the pressure in that room reached a breaking point. Gucci ended up signing the paperwork while Williams Sr. and Big 30 were right there during the moment. He wasn't allowed to leave the recording room while all of this was happening. It didn't stop there either. Big 30 allegedly pulled out his phone and recorded the whole thing, even capturing Gucci saying on camera that he was releasing Shiesty from 1017. Think about that for a second, and they recorded it believing that footage would actually work in their favor. That decision alone raised the stakes even higher. And then the situation escalated even more. Reports claim items were taken from Gucci during the incident, including personal jewelry and cash. At that point, it wasn't just about business or contracts anymore. It crossed into something deeper and way more serious. Taking personal belongings in a moment like that added a whole new level of tension to an already intense situation. Out in the control room, things weren't calm at all anymore. The energy flipped completely. Reports say others in the group pulled out firearms, then started going through everyone's belongings. Watches, chains, jewelry, wallets, nothing was off limits. Everything was getting taken. It got physical too. One person was pushed down onto a couch. Another was grabbed from behind in a chokehold during the chaos. The situation was spiraling fast, and it wasn't just about intimidation anymore. It was turning dangerous by the second. At one point, a co-defendant, McDaniel, was allegedly warning someone he'd seriously hurt them just for making a move. That's how tense it got. Shiesty reportedly had to step in and tell him to calm down, which shows just how close things were to going even further. Moments like that can change everything in an instant. After it was over, they left in multiple vehicles. No shots were fired, but the amount of evidence left behind, way more than enough to build a serious case. The ankle monitor data alone placed Shiesty exactly at the scene, tracking his location the entire time he was there. And it didn't stop there. Phone records and license plate readers reportedly showed coordinated movement between all 9 individuals involved. One of the vehicles was even rented under his father's name, adding another layer to the situation. Surveillance cameras from the studio, nearby businesses, and even a hotel captured key moments on video. On top of that, fingerprints from the scene matched multiple individuals. Physical evidence, digital trails, and video footage all pointed in the same direction. And when all of that comes together, it creates a case that's hard to ignore. Then came the part that really had Bruce Rivers reacting strongly.
Oh my God, how dumb is this? How dumb are these f***ers? Yeah, I'm flexing. I mean, you're bragging about something you stole, not something you worked for.
Just hours after leaving the studio, things took an even wilder turn. Some of the defendants were already on social media, posting photos and videos showing off jewelry that looked a lot like the items reported taken during the incident. One co-defendant even had a screenshot up featuring a Rolex believed to be connected to the situation. They were really putting it all out there online where anyone could see it, including investigators.
The first thing they did was put it on Snapchat and flexed on Snapchat. How dumb do you have to be?
Moves like that only added more attention and raised serious questions about what had just happened. And then came the detail that really tightened everything up. One of the bags taken from the studio reportedly had an AirTag inside. That meant the location of those items could be tracked in real time, showing exactly where they ended up after everything went down. When you stack it all together, the ankle monitor data, phone records, surveillance footage, social media activity, rental records, license plate tracking, fingerprints, and even that AirTag, it created a trail that was extremely difficult to ignore. All those pieces combined painted a very detailed picture of the situation investigators were looking into. Play reckless, deal with real consequences. For nearly 3 months, this case stayed sealed while federal agents quietly built everything up behind the scenes. They didn't rush. They took their time collecting every detail, every receipt, every second of footage, every GPS ping they could lock in. Then April 2nd, 2026 hit, and everything moved at once. Coordinated raids went down across Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville at the same time. 8 out of the 9 people tied to the case were taken into custody, including Shiesty, his father Lontrell Williams Sr., Big 30, and several others. One person is still out there, but the rest already facing serious federal pressure. The main charge is conspiracy to commit kidnapping under 18 U.S.C. Section 1201. That's not something minor. It carries penalties ranging from years all the way up to life in federal prison, and this isn't state time either. In the federal system, you're serving the majority of that sentence, with very limited chances to cut it down.
One of the individuals that's been charged has not had his initial appearance yet, but agents are actively working to locate and bring him to court.
When the Northern District of Texas stepped up for their press conference, they made it clear they weren't taking this lightly. This district is known for being strict, and the judges there have a reputation for not tolerating cases like this at all. Even Bruce Rivers had pointed it out before. He's had direct exposure to that district and knows how firm those courtrooms can be.
This case really underscores the importance of standing up for crime victims, no matter who they are or where they come from.
When you're facing that kind of system, every move matters and the stakes couldn't be higher. Prosecutors made it clear they came fully prepared. They highlighted the massive amount of evidence collected. Subpoenas, search warrants, and coordination between the FBI, Memphis Police, and the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. This wasn't a small investigation, this was the full force of multiple agencies coming together, and they moved fast once everything was in place.
They're facing a range, so there's no mandatory minimum in this case. It's a range of punishment, and it'll be in the province of the judge, whoever gets the case. But it could be from 0 all the way to life imprisonment.
Then they zeroed in on Shiesty, and that's where it got serious.
A lot of what will guide what's called the sentencing guidelines will be the individual's previous criminal history, the fact that one of these individuals committed offense while on home confinement.
Picking up a new federal case while still under supervision from a previous one, that's one of the worst looks possible in court. Judges don't take that lightly at all because it sends a strong message. It suggests a pattern of behavior they don't want to see repeated. From the court's perspective, it raises a major concern. If someone had a clear opportunity to stay on track and still ended up back in a situation like this, it makes the stakes even higher moving forward. By April 8th and 9th, 2026, U.S. Magistrate Judge Renee Harris Tolliver made the call. Though no bond, Shiesty was ordered into federal custody in Dallas. The decision pointed directly at the seriousness of the allegations, the involvement of firearms, the potential for a life sentence, and the fact that he was already under strict monitoring at the time. All of that combined made it clear this situation wasn't being treated lightly at any level. Shiesty wasn't going anywhere after that. And here's the part that really hits. The contract he allegedly forced Gucci to sign under pressure, it doesn't even count, not even close. Under US law, anything signed under physical pressure can be thrown out completely. All the other party has to do is reject it, and legally, it's like it never existed. No court has backed that release at all. Entertainment lawyers across the board have made it clear the original 1017 deal is still fully active. That means all of this chaos, all the risk, didn't even accomplish the goal he was chasing. When you look at the bigger picture, it gets even heavier. This situation reportedly pulled his father into a federal conspiracy case, brought serious charges onto multiple people around him, and created consequences that could stretch across years of his life, all over a document that holds no real legal power. And the wild part, the very contract he was trying to get out of, he's still tied to it. Nothing changed on paper, but everything changed in reality. Rick Ross, someone who understands both the music business and the streets, spoke on how this could have been handled.
I don't like it for either side. You know what I'm talking about? Goo-Wop most definitely didn't deserve that, and I don't want to see this for the little homie Pooh Shiesty, but...
He didn't take sides, showed respect to both, but made one thing clear. There are lines you don't cross, no matter how frustrating a deal might be.
This nigga's got to be educated and understand. In business, you got to negotiate, my nigga. You got to negotiate it.
According to Ross, the solution wasn't complicated at all. It just required patience and smart business moves instead of letting things spiral out of control. That's really the core of it right there. You sit down at the table, bring in lawyers, and fight for what you're worth the right way. Ross had been through enough deals in his career to understand one thing clearly. Pressure and force don't work in business settings at all.
You were signed for $100K and now you got 10 M's on the table. It's time to negotiate.
He said it straight up. You don't force your way out of a contract. You negotiate, you build your case, and you handle it through the system. Every major artist who ever escaped a bad deal did it with strategy, not reckless moves. Look at Prince, he literally wrote slave on his face and battled Warner Brothers for years. It was messy, it was public, but he stayed within the system and eventually came out on top.
You can't muscle your way out of shit in no business. It don't go that way.
That's how this industry works. You can't try to overpower paperwork with pressure. It just doesn't play out like that. Business is business, and it has its own rules whether you like them or not. Then things shifted again on April 10th, 2026. Just one day after the bond denial, Gucci Mane responded in his own way, through music. He dropped Crash Dummy, produced by Zaytoven, and the message was impossible to miss. One line stood out heavy: tell the truth, you went out like a real crash dummy. And after all that, you still signed to me. That hit hard. Gucci didn't hold back. He compared himself to Birdman running Cash Money, called the situation a setup, and made it clear how he saw everything that went down. He even touched on deeper themes. people mistaking patience for weakness, acting friendly but moving different behind the scenes, and more than anything, he used that track to send a message loud and clear about where things stand now. At the end of it all, one thing stayed the same. Shiesty is still on 1017. That forced paperwork didn't change anything. The plan didn't work. The contract is still active, and the whole situation split the culture right down the middle. Some people looked at Shiesty like an artist who hit a breaking point, trying to escape a deal he felt stuck in. They saw frustration, pressure, and someone who made a bad decision while dealing with real issues. But others, they saw it completely different. To them, it was straight disrespect, going after the very person who helped build your career, the one who took you from the Memphis scene to platinum success. Then 50 Cent jumped in, stirring things up online. He started trolling Gucci, bringing up old drama and past situations, adding even more noise to an already loud situation. Meanwhile, Yo Gotti stayed completely quiet in public, but that didn't stop the rumors. Talk about CMG possibly being involved kept spreading across forums and comment sections, with people running wild with theories. And then came the chaos of misinformation. Within days of the arrest, low credibility pages started pushing wild stories. One claim said Shiesty had been stabbed 23 times in federal holding in Dallas by people tied to Gucci. Another version flipped it, saying he attacked someone and got locked down for 23 hours a day. Those posts blew up fast, pulling in thousands of shares with dramatic captions like "Pray for his family." But none of it checked out. No Bureau of Prisons reports, no court documents, no official statements backed any of those claims. Federal facilities don't just let incidents like that slide. Anything serious would trigger immediate reports and investigations. The truth is, those stories were pushed for attention, not accuracy. People twisted a real situation just to chase views and reactions. Then Woody, a Memphis OG who's been through the system and even showed up in the YSL trial, gave one of the most direct takes on the whole situation.
Pooh Shiesty did all that time in jail, in the feds. He around people that have unbelievable cases where it show how far the feds willing to go.
Shiesty spent years locked in with people facing 20, 30, even life sentences. He saw it up close every single day. What happens when the federal system decides to come down heavy on someone? Those weren't just stories, those were real outcomes playing out right in front of him. And somehow, after seeing all that, he came home and ended up in a situation that mirrors the same warnings.
Pooh Shiesty came home, y'all, and made the first day out, they sent him right back to jail. Pride and ego is our main enemy.
At the center of it all, pride and ego. That's what it keeps coming back to. Woody called it early, before most people even broke it down like that. The environment around you can push things in the wrong direction fast. People hyping you up, telling you nothing can touch you, making it feel like you're above consequences. But here's the reality. The people around you aren't always the ones telling you to slow down or think things through. You don't always hear "call a lawyer" or "look at what's at risk." That's not the energy most crews bring. They ride with you in the moment, but when everything crashes into a courtroom, things change real quick. Woody put it simple. You have to recognize when it's time to step away. You have to be able to look around and say, this isn't the move anymore, because the same voices hyping things up won't be there when it really counts. At the end of the day, when decisions turn into consequences, it's one person standing there when that sentence gets read, and that moment is where everything becomes real. And Woody wasn't speaking from theory, he knew that feeling from real experience. He described that exact moment when the handcuffs click and everything changes instantly. That's when it stops feeling like a game and starts getting real. 1 second people are cheering you on, the next second it's silent. Nobody around, nobody stepping in. He talked about sitting in the back of a federal vehicle and that realization hitting hard. Every person who was hyping you up, telling you to keep going, they're all at home living normal, while you're the one facing what comes next. That moment, that's when it all sinks in for real. Then he went even deeper, saying something a lot of people don't say out loud. He brought up the cemetery, the reality of lives lost, and made it clear this isn't some video game or entertainment. This is real life with real outcomes, prison sentences that stretch for decades in situations that don't get reversed. He raised a tough question too. Why do people react the way they do when they see young black men with success and money? And his answer pointed toward behavior, saying, saying too many end up making reckless decisions with it. That perspective didn't come from the outside, it came from someone who's lived through the system and came out seeing things differently. Then you look at Shiesty's situation and it hits even harder. He's only 26, already had platinum success, major recognition, and opportunities that a lot of artists from Memphis dream about. He had the platform, the support, and something rare, a second chance after going through the system once. But now, if convicted, he could be facing decades, possibly even life in federal prison. And it's not just him. His father is also dealing with conspiracy charges tied to the situation, adding even more weight to everything that's already unfolding. Big 30, his day one collaborator from way before any deals or fame, is now looking at serious time too. 8 other men are facing federal charges, all tied back to one meeting that could have easily been a simple phone call to an entertainment lawyer. That's how fast things can spiral when the wrong decisions get made. The case is expected to head to trial sometime in 2026 or 2027, and when it does, even more details are going to come out. We're talking full surveillance footage, witness testimony, and deep forensic evidence being laid out in court. The defense hasn't shown their full hand yet, but they're expected to challenge how people were identified and argue that the situation wasn't as forced as it's being described. Still, when you line everything up, ankle monitor data, social media posts, the AirTag tracking, fingerprints, and multiple camera angles, the government's case looks extremely strong. Meanwhile, Gucci Mane is still moving, 1017 is still active, and that contract, it's still fully valid. And Shiesty, he's sitting in a federal holding facility in Dallas, no ankle monitor this time, just a jumpsuit facing the weight of decisions that turned a business issue into something much bigger. If you made it this far, tap in, hit that like button, subscribe for more breakdowns like this, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and drop your thoughts in the comments.